Ted, do you believe you have a soul?
What did you think I would do at this moment when you're standing before me with tears in your eyes? That answer your question?
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Fanzone Debate. We are here for a fun match. I'm looking forward to this. We got Adelaide Spence, who had a good season last year. Even in their losses, they fought really well. They did really well in the last word event last year and this year too. I thought they had a good showing there as well. So a really good performer here going up against Richard Schwartz. Also someone who's been here for a very long time and continues to be pretty good at this. Had some bad luck last season, looking to kind of get that record back up and running. But I'm looking forward to this. Winner of this will move on in a title picture. So very exciting about that. I got Javi and Payson here with me today. Javi, we'll start with you. How you doing, my friend? And what do you think of this match?
Good. I don't know. I was kind of added last minute, so I don't know any of the choices or anything, which is actually kind of how I like to do it because I come in with no preconceived notions. I'm excited. This should be fun. Yeah, glad to be judging again.
And Payson, how are you, sir? And what do you think of the matchup?
I'm doing great. I was a little behind the scenes. I was asked to host twice, so that's fun. But very, very happy to be here. Tim, you're looking great. Happy to be here with Javi. I don't think I've been on camera with him since he won a certain belt in another league, and also since he had even more exciting personal news. But I won't share that. Not sure if that's public or not, so I won't say that. But yes,
we've talked about his colonoscopy already online.
Oh, okay, yes. I hope your ass is.
All right, we're gonna get right into this thing. Here's how it's gonna work. So Adelaide and Richard drafted categories for us, and then we gave them questions based on those categories. They're going to debate them tonight before our very souls. So each player is going to get 1 minute to open their argument, followed by a 5-minute freeform, followed by a 1-minute closing. At the end of the debate, Payson, Javi, and I will write on our boards who we thought won the debate. 2 out of 3 votes will win you a point. The first player to 3 points will win the match. Adelaide, Richard, any questions as we kick this one off?
Yep.
No questions. All right, let's do it. While that clip stays the same, the intro and the outro have changed. You've already seen it if you're watching this video. This is the first match of the season other than our opening title match. So this is very exciting. We did have a title match last weekend along with the last word, but this is the first official match of the season. So thanks for being here. Let's get into it. We're going to kick it off with the first category, which was drafted by Adelaide Spence. The question is in the category of Oscars. The question is, which pre-1990s Best Picture winner has the best opening scene? Lots of films to choose from. Adelaide, you get to go first. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
All Quiet on the Western Front has one of the best opening scenes of all time, perfectly capturing the use of how common propaganda was peddled in Germany during World War I. We are introduced to many German citizens sharing their excitement for the opportunity to defend their country in the Great War. From a postman to a barkeep, finally ending in a classroom full of students, we see nationalism fill the spirits of these citizens. A professor delivers an impassioned play to his pupils, while patriotic music floods in through the windows as he inspires them to enlist for battle. This perfectly sets the scene for the German national identity and culture surrounding these young men, grooming them into battle by promising them love and glory for winning the war. Every student stands and shouts their excitement for battle, demanding the chance to fight for their country, unaware of the waves of tragedy that awaits them. This is beyond a simple presentation of propaganda. It is living in its omnipresence. It's inescapable in its power, filling every building and every street, welcoming the poor masses towards a death march in service of a war that benefits no one.
Ooh, getting it in there. There you go. We're going to move over to Richard. Richard, you have 1 minute when you start.
The best opening scene in a Best Picture winner is The Godfather, 1970. This is considered Marlon Brando's most iconic and probably best role ever in a movie. It's also one of the most iconic scenes in The Godfather. This opening scene envelops what the movie is truly about: family, respect, loyalty, and power. It is such a well-known scene that many movies and TV shows have paid tribute to the scene, whether in comedy or serious roles. This is clearly the best opening scene, and I will move on to the battle round. I concede the rest of my time.
Sweet mercy. All right. The Godfather, All Quiet on the Western Front. 5-minute freeform. When one of you starts talking, I will throw up the 1 minute warning. Not throw up. I'll throw up the 1 minute warning.
I'll throwing up.
I'll show the let your opponent talk if you're not letting your opponent talk. Don't make me do it. It makes me sad. All right. 5 minutes.
I just want to clarify the parameters of the scenes that we're arguing, because I think for me it's very clear. There's an opening text scroll, and then we see basically a walk through the streets, ending the classroom. Students stand up, yeah, let's go to war, and it cuts to them in war. I think it's a very clear ending. Where does your scene end? Because to me, you have picked a 5-minute scene, and I know that's kind of negotiable for a lot of people.
I'm just going from, the meeting with Don Vito Corleone with, the person asking to avenge, to get, to avenge his daughter's assault.
Okay.
I'm not going through the whole wedding and everything, just that particular scene.
That's okay, great. Because I think that because it is such a singular scene that you are going for, it doesn't fulfill the qualifiers that you gave. It's not really about family, which I think is the point of The Godfather, as both the film and the franchise as it goes on. It's about Michael and how in his relationship with his whole family. This scene is just about Vito's power. This loses the weight of this incredible ensemble cast. 3 Best Supporting Actor nominations. Every character is rich, and we are centered around Vito and one guy that we barely talked to. I think it does not set up the film the way that we want it to. I think that it being referenced in other movies doesn't make the scene itself that great.
It's a very great and iconic scene. It is about family because Don Vito Corleone is taking the time off his daughter's wedding. You come today, the day of my daughter's wedding. One of the most iconic lines in The Godfather. It is also the most iconic. Multiple TV shows, multiple movies have paid homage to this. This was the peak. This scene was the peak that has laid the foundation for other gangster mobster movies. When I was trying to look up your opening scene, I just got to, it was just the battle. And, if you go, you don't even have to see my movie. You don't even have to see your movie. That scene, everyone knows that scene's from The Godfather. When I look at your opening scene, I could try to guess. People will be saying different war films. It's very similar. It's a war. People are going to get shot. People are going to get killed. It doesn't. What does your scene do that affects your movie compared to how my scene affects my movie?
I think we could go into a long history about how controversial both the novel and the film were about portraying the German soldiers positively and having some complexity to what they were going through. It doesn't matter that it could be any war movie. That's number one. That's not true. But number
any
two,
World
I
War
think
II
what
movie.
is
Let's go with that.
What is World War I? What it's setting up and what it's really getting into is how it is like the jarhead of its time. It's really going into the mental battle that these kids are going into. You see them literally in school. These are 16, 17, 18-year-olds who are literally putting their lives on the line, and the culture surrounding them, forcing them into war, making them think that this is the peak of their life, and they'll be surrounded by women who are begging for them. When literally all that's left as the film goes on is they're literally losing body parts for nothing. They are taking clothes off of dead bodies because they were promised glory, and what they are given is hell. And the opening scene captures that. Everything is just, this is great, this is great, this is great. It is tricking them. That manipulation, that psychoanalysis of these children is what makes the movie so great. What makes this opening scene so great. You are not arguing great, you're arguing iconic. That is not the question.
Okay, I will first of all defend what you said about it's really about, Michael, but towards the end, after when Vito dies, it's the beginning before Vito dies, it's his movie. And then Michael becomes the main character when he moves on. So I would argue that Marlon Brando's character is the main character until he dies. Again, when I'm saying it's iconic and rememberable, because you don't have to see my movie to know that scene is in The Godfather. If no one's seen your movie and they look at your opening scene, they're going to shout out again a bunch of different war movies. It's my scene is so good, so iconic that even if you haven't seen the movie, everyone's going to know that's from The Godfather. No, you can't say the same about yours.
I think that you are picking one of like the most famous movies of all time, and I'm picking a movie from 1930. Who fucking watches movies from 1930 outside of like this group of nerds? That doesn't matter.
To be fair,
you were saying iconic, like,
and
yeah,
nowadays who watches a movie from 1970? That's kind of the same argument.
You were arguing iconic. That is literally not the question. I am going into like, why does this scene work in context of the movie?
I will also bring up about family, respect, and power. The scene shows everything why Don Vito is so important. It also brings people to wonder, why is he this powerful? Why is he this respected? Why is he this feared in that scene alone? Whereas, again, it's World War II.
Time.
Sorry.
We are going to start closings with Richard. Richard, you get to go first. You have 1 minute when you start.
Yes, we are talking about the best opening scene, not just the iconic, but it's so iconic and so just like really good. Like watching that scene, fans want to know, why is Marlon Brando, why is Don Corleone so feared, so beloved, so respected? It makes you drive in to watch this movie further to figure out why. When you're watching my opponent's movie, again, it's World War II. A lot of World War II movies has the exact same action scene, gun violence, and thing. There is nothing special about his opening scene that separates from other World War II films that are just as good and just as violent. It is so admired, that the opening scene of The Godfather, that it has been redone in other movies and television shows. So yes, I think it is the best opening scene because it pays the best tribute. It still holds up today. I concede.
Okay. Let's go over to Adelaide. Adelaide, you have 1 minute when you start.
I don't think Richard listens to me. This is not a world. This is a World War I movie that's not based around violence, but is based around propaganda and converting children to fight for war and lying to them. There is depth to my opening scene that perfectly sets the pace for the themes of the rest of my film. What he is arguing is iconic, not best. He is leaning into themes of family, which is not even really set up. This is a great introduction to Bonacera. It's a really good introduction to Vito. But when it comes down to like, what is it in service to the rest of the movie, the rest of the franchise even, number one, Vito fucking dies. Like, it's like we're spending all this time developing him, but not Michael, not Kay, not the rest of the family. We have fully abandoned them for Marlon Brando shot in these very like dark close-ups. I think there's not it is a great scene, I'll give him that. But there's not weight to it. There is not interest in the rest of the film and the rest of the characters. It is truly singular. It does not benefit the film itself. I also just think it's not as good. I think my scene feels best.
Time. Okay. Bring in the judges.
Sorry, I keep saying World War II. I know it's World War I. I just keep saying. I'm just so used to just saying World War II.
Call it a great war. We could all agree it was a really good war.
They're all good wars. No.
Whoa.
All right. Good start. I went with Adelaide. The orange is not friendly. I thought good fight, good picks on both accounts. I've actually not seen the original All Quiet. I've only seen the new one, which I very much enjoyed. But the scene that Adelaide describes sounded incredible. And I liked the way they kind of set it up with how it works through the rest of the film. And it kind of sets up the film in a really interesting way. And I thought the way they took down Richard's scene, which is a great scene, and I think we established it's iconic, but that, it doesn't set up much beyond Vito's character maybe, and that it's iconic, but it doesn't have really, like, the best scenes are later in the film, and not necessarily this one in particular. But I thought Richard did a good job talking about the scene, the themes in the scene and everything, but nothing he said really took down the Adelaide scene for me. So, Payson, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Tim, I'm right there with you. I also went with Spence. This really just came down to, I think Spence. I'm in the same boat as you. The original All Quiet on the Western Front, a bit of a blind spot for me. I've heard really great things. I actually didn't know how it started, and Spence painted a really, really great picture of what that opening scene contains. It honestly sounds a lot like the opening scene of Patton, which honestly you could have taken, but that was taken. And I think it just comes down to Richard. The only knock against the scene I heard from Richard is that it's not as iconic as his scene, which we're not arguing most iconic. We're arguing for best. I give my point to Spence.
All right, Javi, your vote does not count. Where would you have gone and why?
Yeah, I thought this was a good one. I unfortunately, I think I actually disagree with Payson. I don't think Spence really painted the picture of what like All Quiet on the Western Front is. It was mostly just a bunch of like what makes it special, not necessarily like I didn't really get to see it in my mind like what it really is. Whereas Richard mentioned a lot of how iconic The Godfather is, and I've seen it, 3 or 4 times already. So like I get it. I think the only problem was Richard kind of pigeonholed himself by being like, oh, I just mean that first part of that scene.
Well,
that
I'm not
to me is,
Sorry.
to me the problem was because he talked about family and like the respect and whatever. I'm like, okay, that's great, but we don't really see the family. I think Spence kind of gave Richard an opportunity there to be like, no, I mean the whole freaking moment, because then you've really got an argument. But ultimately, I went with Spence.
All right. So Adelaide wins point
Good job.
1. We are going to move on to question 2. This was drafted by Richard in the category of sports. Question is, who is the best character in the Mighty Ducks series? Richard, you get to kick this off. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
I think the best character of any movie, or the best character in the Mighty Ducks, is a person you see who's grown after each movie, has improved himself, has him just a very loved character, a character who has improved in himself as like the character development. And I am choosing Fulton Reed. In the first Mighty Ducks, he is only looked upon as this big guy who is scary, doesn't talk much, and he's feared. But then once Gordon Bombay finds out he can hit a puck really hard, he asked, why aren't you join the hockey team? It's because he didn't learn to skate. He learned how to skate, became part of the team, and I will explain more on why Fulton Reed is the best Mighty Ducks player and character, and we go on to the fighting round, so I can see the rest of my time.
All right. Okay, we're going to move over to Spence. Spence, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
Gordon Bombay is a fully realized character. He is lived within the universe. There is plenty of history prior to our introduction to him. He starts out as a young kid, and his coach tells him, "Hey, you make this shot, you're a legend." And a 10-year-old fucks up a shot in a local championship. That is going to fuck with your head. When you're telling a little kid, do this or you are basically worth nothing, and you let down everybody you ever know. And that perfectly sets up who he is for the rest of his life up until becoming the coach. He is an alcoholic. He is a douchebag. He is treating everybody around him bad, and he's solely focused on himself, making himself rich, making himself not beloved, but basically buying his company. And then as he becomes a coach, he reconnects with his love of hockey and his love of kids. And as he finds love as well, like he evolves. He is the only character in this franchise who truly changes and grows to be a better person.
Time. Okay. Let's bring in Richard for the main round. 5 minutes when one of you starts talking.
See, this is really there's a lot of good players, a lot of characters in this movie. I think the problem with Gordon Bombay is, he starts off as a jerk, someone who wants to win, someone who treats the kids badly, then he becomes good again. But in the next movie, he declines again. He becomes, once they start winning in the Olympics, Team USA, he goes back to being a jerk, treating the players like crap, and then he learns his lesson. He, as a character, keeps on declining, and then in the third movie, he's barely in it because he leaves the team and gives them to a new coach, and he only comes back to help the kids keep their scholarship. Fulton Reed, as a character, has improved in his confidence and his ability throughout all 3 movies.
I've been to a lot of therapy, right? And a
Mm.
lot of like, you can like go to AA or things like that, where it's like you're going somewhere to get better. And something that you hear a lot of the time is growth is not linear. And I think that really applies to Gordon. I think there are some times in stories where that kind of like repetitiveness can come off as like lazy writing. But I think it does genuinely work for him as a character. He was going into D2, he is tempted by stardom. He can get back into the minor leagues, and then like his team just won like this huge tournament. Like everyone around him is like celebrating him. This is the life that he was promised as a kid, and he has finally felt fulfilled. And when he's fulfilled, he goes back to his old ways, and that temptation towards the dark side, like the fucking Star Wars, I think it really like it makes you connect to him. I think there is a genuine interest of like layers to him. Fulton Reed, and to that extent, basically every other character in this franchise, he's kind of shallow. Like the growth is just, oh hey, I'm kind of confident and I can kind of play hockey better. No one has like genuine development the way that Gordon Bombay.
How is Fulton Reed shallow?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. I've watched all 3 movies. I have like read up on multiple like Wikipedia pages and summarizations.
Are you not
have depth to him?
He does have depth. Like in the first movie, he is basically looked at as this big scary kid. No one gave him the chance to talk to him. Once Gordon Bombay brought him onto the team, the other team realized how nice of a guy he is, how great a guy is. And in the first movie, he was only known as just hitting the puck really hard, couldn't barely skate. In the second movie, he embraces the fact that he's big. He makes his friend, he finds a new friend, Dean Portman, who is just as big, realize they can become the Bash Brothers. He accepted that role. And in the third movie, he realized that like as the team got a new coach, he felt confident in himself to realize that he may not want to do hockey or play any sports. He might want to have other things outside of sports than just playing hockey. Like he might want to have another job. And I think that is character development, embracing who you are, realizing you're not limited to just the size of a person. Gordon Bombay, as great as he's probably one of the best sports coaches of all time, but he keeps constantly just becoming a jerk. Like in the second movie, like he was back to Gordon Bombay at the end of the first movie, helping the kids, and then once he got fame, he goes back down to treating the kids with disrespect. Sorry, I'm going to let you talk. I'm going on a little bit.
You're good. So I want to point out, I will say, I do think in D3 what you're offering for Fulton Reed is growth. But I think in the first movie and in D2, he isn't growing as a character. People are perceiving him differently. He doesn't have to change his actions or his ways. People are just spending time with him. He has friends or even just coworkers, really, at that point. He doesn't change who he is. His actions don't change. People just aren't scared of him. I don't think that really makes him a better character.
No, it does, because he was alone in the first movie. The team is what brought him the confidence and to realize that he's not just this big scary guy that the whole world thinks of him. And then the second one, sorry, go on. I want
to go back to you because you were saying that Gordon is going back to the same well over and over. I think that the difference in how he gets better also makes him a really good character. In the first movie, it's the kids. It is like, okay, this is bigger than myself. And in D2, he seems even farther gone than he was. And then he needs Jan. He needs like his old coach, his old buddy to like basically pull him in and say like, I know the real you. I've known the real you. You are better than this. There is a different way of connecting to the real true Gordon inside. And I think that's what makes him really rich.
Just in the second movie, that wasn't Jan, that was his brother.
I thought it was Jan.
No, it was his brother. It was a different actor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's the only. But again, like the character-wise, is just inconsistently. He keeps doing the same mistakes from the first and the second one. In the third one, he wasn't like really in the movie long enough, or he just left the team. Obviously, for good reasons why he left the team to junior games. But again, there is more character development in Fulton Reed. As you watch all 3 movies, you grew up with Fulton Reed, and there's time.
All right, Adelaide, we're going to start with you for closings. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
Bridger just spent a lot of this argument basically putting down Gordon, especially in 2 and 3, of like, oh, he's a good person. Oh, but he leaves the team. He literally just said in D3, oh, yeah, he'll the team again, but it's for a good reason. So I just think, number one, he agrees D3, good for Gordon. We can agree there. I do think like what makes a character good is depth and rich development. It is not shallow, like Fulton Reed, who is just, oh, I'm a big tough guy, but I'm also nice. There's not a lot there. There aren't like these really great character moments or quotes or like bits where you can really connect to a deeper human being. I think Gordon Bombay is fully realized. He is coming from his relative alcoholism and his like hatred of kids, and then when he genuinely like finds love and supports Charlie in the first and the second movie, there is like a human being that you are connecting to. None of the rest of the franchise has a genuine human soul to it that I think Gordon Bombay really draws you in with.
Okay, let's move over to Richard. Richard, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
The perception of Fulton Reed isn't just that people like when you're told everyone's afraid of you for years and years, all your life, you're going to feel that way about yourself. It wasn't until he joined the Ducks will the other team realize who he is and accepted that he was truly able to have confidence in himself, that he's not just this big scary guy, that he's more than just what he appears to be. And as you see him in the other movies, he grows, he embraces it. He embraces who he is as well. And in the third movie, he even realized that sports isn't maybe not everything to him, that he can do other things besides sports. Gordon Bombay, had a tragic backstory. He started with alcohol, and then at the end of the first movie, he becomes this greatest coach. But again, the problem with Gordon Bombay is he keeps falling back to the same problem, like from the first and second movie, where like he was a great coach, but then the fame got to his head like he did in the first movie. And then in the third movie, he's only in it for a little bit. And also, Gordon Bombay only really connects to Charlie, no one else in the team.
Connects to Charlie and no one else in the movie. Strike it from the record. My goodness gracious.
Whoa.
I feel assaulted. No, I'm just kidding.
I'll allow it. He conceded a lot of time early.
No,
Banked it. That's the real strategy. Banking it.
I wish it'd be like it was the weakest link. Just bank it.
My answer's already written down, but is Fulton Reed Foggy Nelson in Daredevil?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Foggy Nelson.
Or the guy with no tongue in the Hunger Games?
Yes.
Pollux, I believe. Yeah. Okay. We are going to start this one with Javi.
Yeah, good. I thought the obvious answer was Gordon Bombay, and then I thought, like, okay, well, like Spence just chose Bombay, so I guess like probably like Charlie would be the second one. Fulton Reed is not where I thought it would go, but I dug it. I really liked the angle Richard attacked it from. I went with Richard. I think Richard just had more attacks on like he just seems to not learn the lesson of like your role is the coach, your role is this, your role is, and like I understand like people can stumble and whatever. Like if in the third one he was like, and I'm the coach and I'll never leave you guys, but he just kind of does leave them in the third one, and I just like to me it's like in the movies plural. I just can't give it to Gordon for that reason. I think he just had a good attack on, or I think he also had like a good like, yeah, he starts off as a guy who's just really big, but then like he accepts his role as one of the Bash brothers when he meets another guy who's just as big as him. And I just thought that was like, I don't know, I just thought that was a cool angle to attack it from. I forgot Fulton Reed's name, and then now I'll never forget Fulton Reed. So.
Yeah, I agree with Javi, actually. I went with Richard. I agree that, yeah, I thought Spence did a good job, and I think Spence, especially towards the end, had a good couple haymakers there of being like, you yourself said, like, he's not a bad person for leaving in the third one. Like, it's for a good reason. But I thought that, yeah, Richard's attack of being like, yeah, he learns his lesson, but he keeps having to learn the same lessons and like just kind of falters a little bit. I thought that was a good attack. And I think Spence's attack on Fulton was mostly just like, it's a shallow character. It's kind of a nothing burger. But I thought Richard did a good job of kind of explaining like how the way that the Fulton character kind of expands as a character was actually really interesting and underrated. Good character. One could say the best. So Payson, your vote doesn't count. Where would you have gone and why?
Yeah, 2 rounds, 2 clean sweeps. I also went with Richard.
Nice.
Yeah, I think Richard sort of hit the nail on the head where I think the testament to a good franchise character is if you learn a lesson in one movie, you don't need to keep relearning that lesson. I think Richard just kind of hit the nail on the head that's kind of what Gordon Bombay is built around. And I think Richard painted a really great picture of why Fulton does grow throughout the series and what makes him such an interesting character in the grand scheme of the Mighty Ducks.
All right. So it is 1-1. We're going to move on to the next question. This question was drafted by Adelaide in the category of musicals. Question is, who is the best villain in a movie musical? Many options, but maybe trickier than we thought. Let's get into it. We'll start with Adelaide. Adelaide, you have 1 minute when you.
When it comes to the language of musical theater, Frollo from Disney's The Hunchback of Notre Dame utilizes every aspect of the medium and establishes himself as the ultimate villain. The contrast between the version of himself he presents to others is strong and domineering. But when he is alone with the audience, we see how truly evil he is. Whether it's hunting down Quasimodo's mother, driven purely by racism and hatred, only stopping the murder of a baby by his hand because of his fear of God, or soliloquizing to himself during Hellfire, the film shows a fully realized man living in constant hypocrisy. He uses God as a weapon to slaughter anyone he demonizes, and also uses him as the ultimate excuse to absolve himself of all bad actions. Back to Hellfire, even the use of non-diegetic elements helps add depth to him. The presence of angelic voices during that song add another layer to his approach to religion and add depth to the character in a way similar to how Quasimodo interacts with his gargoyles. Use my extra time to explain. Diegesis in musical theater is basically the presence of music in the scene versus music like to the audience as opposed to like in universe.
Time. All right, let's move over to Richard. Richard, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
I think the best movie musical villain is Scar from The Lion King. I think what makes a villain so great is not only doing evil things, but making a plan, executing that plan, and being patient, being precise. And what I think also makes what a great villain is, actually succeeding. And that's what Scar from Lion King does. He succeeds. He kills Mufasa. He becomes king. Those were his 2 main goals. And I can talk about Scar. I'm going to talk about Scar, obviously, in the fight. But he has the swagger. He has the cunning. He has his he personifies villain. And when you think of The Lion King and you think of even the best musical villain, you think of Scar. And I concede the rest of my time.
Oh, Richard. Son of a bitch. All right. 5 minute free form when one of you starts.
So to clarify, I am choosing the 2019 version of Scar from The Lion King. The reason I'm choosing the 2019 version is because Lion King Mufasa gives us more of a character-wise of Scar, which I think makes him even such a great villain. Because in Mufasa, like, he was supposed to be king, Scar, and then like his whole family keeps choosing Mufasa, and Scar at that point could have just tried to kill him or try to do something at the end of that movie, but he was patient. He realized he's going to come after him when he is the most vulnerable, when he becomes a father. And I think that's what makes him such a great villain. He comes up with a perfect plan. His actions, I think, are way more villainous than Frollo ever could be in Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Number one, I think that argument kind of deflates the pick with the question, because who's the best in a movie musical, not in who's the best character, period. You have to pick a movie, not multiple.
But we're not doing which one's the best movie. It's just the best movie villain, and Scar is in both of those movies. Yeah,
and I think that number one, I don't think that Scar is that great considering the qualifier that he succeeds doesn't make him a better villain. Again, if we're looking at a character, we're not looking at their actions, how they are developed and how they are written. Scar is kind of bland if you really break down who he is. He's just like quietly like brooding and methodical, and then he waits for his chance, he kills Mufasa. And what does he do? He's a shit dictator. And that's kind of all he is. Like you don't really sit with not like moral quandaries, because he's a pretty one-note guy. But you're not like sitting with his emotions in the minute. There is complexity to Frollo. Like the genuine fear of God he puts in himself, that he then weaponizes against others, is fascinating. He's someone that you could legitimately do a deep dive on to really understand his psychology. I think that's what makes him so interesting.
Scar, what I think makes him the best villain is because Scar not only befriends Simba, pretends to be his friend, convinces him to, I'm doing the whole plot, why he's the better villain. Because not only did he kill Mufasa, he makes Simba believe he is the reason why he kills Mufasa, tells him to leave, he leaves, and sends the hyenas to go kill him. So he's thinking that the last thing Simba's going to remember before he dies is that he's the reason why his father's dead. That is way more villainous than what Frollo is accepted during the French time during that decade, where it wasn't just Frollo that was thinking about, God, punishing the wicked. It was that frame. A lot of the royals thought the same way he did. And I think if the question was which villain is the more relatable, because it's what's happening, in our day and age when it comes to Christianity or religion, I would probably say Frollo. But go.
I think saying Scar befriending Simba is like this ultimate evil. He's literally his fucking uncle. They are blood. You're gonna talk to him. You're literally just hanging out on Pride Rock. Of course they're gonna get close. They're neighbors and they're blood. But I think what you are ignoring about Frollo is not just like, oh, he's like a priest and he's kind of bad. He literally murders a woman and then says, I'm gonna take her son, which I called an abomination and attempted to fucking murder. If not for a priest stopping me, I'm going to hold him as my ward hostage and gaslight him for 20 plus years, saying, you are deformed, you are ugly, you have no purpose to society, and your only use on this earth is to stay captive.
But it wasn't just him.
From a young age.
It wasn't just him that believed that. It were like the royals believed the same thing. Like a lot of the villagers believe the same thing.
You're arguing theoreticals.
They shouldn't. I think the people in that decade are the true villains. It wasn't just him, and also.
But they aren't in the movie. You're arguing history. That's not the question.
Okay, the question is, which one's the best villain? Scar completed. He got what he wanted. He became king. He killed Mufasa. Frollo did not get what he wanted. He wanted Esmeralda and he wanted to kill Frodo. He failed at that. That's what makes Scar, because he actually succeeds in what he wants to do. He gets defeated at the end, but Frollo doesn't succeed at all.
Best does not mean successful. Like okay. I am arguing about richness of character. I think that Frollo serves as a perfect mirror to Quasimodo as a character. Quasimodo has his gargoyles for making him become a better person and helping him make rational decisions. Whereas Frollo has the voice of fucking God in his head, telling him that you are full of sin and you should fucking die. That you should commit heinous crimes against women and Romani people because of fear. Scar is like, I want to ruin my friends, my family. He is shallow. He has nothing. Frollo is rich. There is interest.
I find Frollo more creepy than evil. He's more creepy for trying to like get with Esmeralda.
Creepy and evil go hand in hand, brother.
Scar is way more villainous. He killed his brother. He's trying to kill his nephew. He became king. He treats his other pride like crap. And I think that's what makes him the better villain, is because he's true evil. Frollo's more relatable.
All right, we are going to go to closings. We're going to start with Richard. I had to think about that. Richard, 1 minute when you start.
Scar is the best movie, villain, musical. It's because he had a plan. He thought it out. He executed that plan. He became victorious. He did lose at the end, but he became king. He killed his brother. And he's one of the few villains that actually accomplished his goal. Frollo, yes, he's old, creepy, evil. Like his actions were based on God and his lustful towards Esmeralda. But I would think, if you're thinking of Frollo, he's kind of old, stale, boring, proper, just like we had a lot of proper in other Disney villains, like Gaston, like the Pocahontas villain. Religion is, a lot of people, when it comes to religion, have the same mindset as Frollo. And I don't think he's more relatable than he is like a true villain. Scar is a true villain. When everyone thinks of a Disney villain, Disney musical villain, they think of Scar, because Scar is one of the best. Yeah, I'm done.
Time. Hey, you didn't. What's the word you always
I
use?
can see the rest of my time.
Concede, yeah, you didn't say it. Ha ha. Gotcha. All right, we're going over to Spence. Spence, you have 1 minute when you start.
I think Frollo wins in both my definition of the argument and Richard's. Just because Scar commits fratricide does not make him a better villain. There's not like, oh, he's more evil by killing one person. Frollo has killed tens, hundreds of people driven purely by hatred and racism and religious fervor. And then if you're arguing about depth of character, Frollo perfectly mirrors Quasimodo. Quasimodo uses the voice of others in his head because Gargoyle's not fucking talking to guide them through their journeys. Quasimodo wants to be a good person. He supports Esmeralda, and he wants to help her escape from the persecution of her time. Frollo uses his internalized fear of God. He knows he is more full of sin than anybody that he kills or puts in place, but he is driven by that fear of a higher power, and that drives him to do heinous, terrible things, but you want to keep learning about him.
All right. God damn it. Someone just sent me something very funny. Okay. We're going to take you off. Bring you on. We're going to bring you on. We're going to bring you on. And you switch that. This is the right order. Yeah, Payson, you're starting, but I still have to write my answers.
You're good. You're good. You know, there was a joke I always had about Pollux from the Hunger Games, but it's a dirty joke, so I won't say it here.
Thank you.
I think we know where you're going already.
Yeah.
Let's go to Payson.
Yeah, very unsatisfied girlfriend is all I'm going to say. Okay.
Why now? Why does that matter now?
This was an interesting
I
fight.
took him off before he could say it last time.
Cool. This was a very interesting fight. Lot of things were said. Lot of potential things were said that weren't said. Overall, I'm going to give it to Spence, and here's why. Richard and Spence made this a very classic argument I think we've all had is who is the better Final Fantasy villain between Kefka and Sephiroth? And Richard tried to hit the slam dunk of, well, Kefka succeeded, Sephiroth never did. But at the end of the day, that's not always what makes Kefka the better villain. I think Spence, my favorite part of the debate is when Richard said, look at how evil Scar was, and then Spence just sort of hammered like, oh, cool, he befriended Simba. Look at every single evil thing that that Frollo did. I think Spence just said that Frollo just feels more layered of just being spoken to by God. And just the one point that Richard kept bringing up that I found confusing is Richard kept saying, Scar is the Disney villain you think of when you think of Disney villains. But you didn't choose Jeremy Irons Scar. You intentionally chose Chiwetel Ejiofor Scar. So
We're talking about the character, not who's the best portrayed actor.
I'm going with Spence. Is all I'm gonna say. Yeah.
Javi.
Yeah, I had a pretty similar thought when I was like, well, if you're saying like you always think of Scar, I'm like, yeah, well, not the one you're thinking of though. So I don't know. Yeah, I didn't like this debate, not because of the arguments, just because it was very frustrating because I'm one of the few people that really doesn't like Hunchback of Notre Dame for some reason. I don't even really know why. It never clicked with me. I'm just not a huge fan of it. I don't think it's thanks, buddy. That actually makes me feel so great.
Opening song, incredible. Everything else, meh.
Yeah, it's fine. I don't think it's bad by any means, but I think it's like not super. Anyway, so I was just like, Frollo. We're really gonna start with Frollo. All right. And I heard Scar, and I was like, heck yeah, dude. We're going with Scar versus Frollo. Like, I write down both names and I erase one by the end of it, and I was like, dude, let's go. I was getting ready to erase Spence. But then 2019 came up, and it was just it was so frustrating. So this was a tough one for me. I did end up going with Spence. I think the problem is like Spence was able to talk about why there was more complexity there as a character and as a villain. Oh, sorry, I don't know if you can hear all that pinging, but there we go. There's too much. Spence was able to talk about why there was so much more complexity as opposed to just pure villainous. I understand that the question is like, who's the best villain? I get that. And like, there's definitely an argument to Scar, even 2019 Scar, like just mainly because he's like a not quite as good version of the 90s one, but he's still, he's basically a carbon copy. I get it. I get why you might go with the 2019 one. But yeah, I just think in terms of like being able to grasp as to what makes the character more interesting, I just had to go with Spence.
Okay, my vote doesn't count. I also went with Spence. I'll just say this. As someone with a 2-year-old who loves Lion King, doesn't matter. Lion King 1, Lion King Remake, Lion King Simba's Pride, Lion King 1.5, Mufasa, The Lion Guard, the Timon and Pumbaa show from the 90s that gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Holds up. The White Lion.
Holds up.
All of it. I've seen it all. And I have this, Maggie and I have experienced this thing called Stockholm Syndrome, where we kind of like the 2019 one now, and we kind of like Moana 2, and we kind of like these things that we thought we hated because we've seen them so many times that we're like, actually, hey. So I don't hate the 2019 pick. I'm just kind of the opinion that this was just argued better by Spence. I think Richard always does a good job in his fights, but in this one in particular, I felt like he just didn't have the sauce needed to really push Scar over the edge. And I think Scar's a great pick because no matter what, at the end of the day, remake or not, he's picking a character who does some fucked up, terrible shit. And I thought that he did that well, but Spence, in a way, I wasn't ready for it. Basically, was like, oh, so Scar just like, does all this stuff and then just like a shit dictator. I was like, that's a really good point. He's kind of a bitch the second half of the movie. So I thought Spence just did a really good job taking down Scar and bringing up Frollo, but it was a good fight. So we are going to move on to the final question. Richard needs to hit this in order to send it to the bonus. We are going to the category of action adventure. Question is, what is the best action scene in a Captain America film? Love it. Love to see it. Okay, we're going to start with Richard. Richard, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
In my opinion, I think the best action scene in a Captain America movie is Captain America and Winter Soldier taking on Iron Man in Civil War. I think the development of this movie, the strong emotion bonds that both Captain America had with Bucky, had with Tony throughout the whole other MCU movies, and why this battle was the best action scene, because you felt the raw emotion of what the consequences were going to be after this fight, what the consequences of the truth that Captain America hid. I think this not only had some really good fight action scenes, some great choreography, but also just the raw emotion that all three characters were feeling at the time that made this action scene just even up the ante, intensified the action. And I will go more to when we fight it out. I can see the rest of my time, and I've said it this time.
There you go. Yeah. All right, we're going to go over to Spence. Spence, 1 minute when you start.
Let's set the scene. Captain America, the Winter Soldier. A new team has infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. called Strike. It is like headed by Alexander Pierce. He really believes in it. He really thinks that this is like the future. He doesn't really get along with Cap. On top of all of that, Cap feeling that he doesn't really know what's going on. On top of, he just came from fucking 1940. Now he's fighting aliens. Totally off the ball. Then his like one true mentor, like somebody who he really like has as a grounding figure right now, Nick Fury, dead. His best friend possibly came back to life and killed, theoretically, his mentor. He is confronted by the leader of S.H.I.E.L.D. and doesn't tell him anything. S.H.I.E.L.D. says, okay, great, you are a fugitive. So Captain America is locked in an elevator with the entirety of the Strike team. Everyone that he does not trust, and as he looks around, he sees sweat rolling down everyone's neck. There's a microphone hidden in someone's hair. He's about to throw some fucking hands, and he is scared.
Time. 2 excellent scenes. No one wanted to pick Red Hulk, I guess. 5-minute freeform when one of you starts.
I mean, we both picked great scenes. So first, I'm just going to say that, both good scenes. Why I don't think yours is very popular, because Winter Soldier is considered one of the greatest movies of the MCU. I think it's a good scene. I understand why they did the callback in Endgame, but rewatching that scene, it's not as great as everyone like. It's not. It doesn't really hold up. It's just a bunch of dudes coming after Captain America all at once, kind of like, just like grabbing onto him, trying to punch, trying to taser him, and you get no like. You don't know what the stakes are towards you get towards the end of the Winter Soldier film when you realize Hydra has infiltrated Shield. Steve doesn't know that Winter Soldier's Bucky at this point in that scene. Whereas in my scene, you just revealed that Bucky was the reason why Tony Stark's parents is dead, and Cap has hold on to that secret for a while now. And the lack of trust, betrayal that Tony felt for Steve, they were friends, they were rivals, they were brothers in a sense, but so was the scene with him and Bucky. Brothers, Bucky's the last thing of his past around. I'm going to let you talk because I don't want to.
I think that like the point that you're arguing about, like the connection to the characters, also works for my scene. Like losing Tony is basically the same thing as losing Nick Fury, except for yours, he has held on to it. He is like you've known that this was coming. The movie has basically foreshadowed this in the way that it's been scripted. You're not as connected to the character as you are in my scene. You're saying that like, oh, people are just like fucking throwing hands or doing whatever. What are you gonna do to go kidnap America when you are in an elevator? Like the restrictions are what makes it interesting. They're attempting to overpower him by magnetizing his hands onto the elevator and beating the fuck out of him so that he can't lead an attack against Shield, against Strike, against Hydra. I think that the restrictions of the scene are what make it interesting. How many times have you seen a fight scene, anything like that? That many people in that enclosed of a space, and it's shot well. Where every single person is located, who's hitting who and how. It is done well. Your scene is mostly in a CGI fucking nightmare cloning facility where shit's just kind of getting thrown around. It's dark. You can't see anything. A lot of that just doesn't really work. There isn't weight to it. And it's also Iron Man and Captain America fighting. It's the same issue as the airport scene. There isn't any weight to the actual violence going on. There isn't any actual fear. Mine, I think, has really, on top of like the score by Henry Jackman, you are genuinely anxious for Cap. You're worried about his outcome. You don't know what's going to happen. How does he get up a fucking elevator like 100 stories up?
There is absolutely weight in my action scene. You have Captain America, whose new family is the Avengers, who he considers Tony probably his closest friend, his best friend, and his brother at this point in the film. Whereas then you have Bucky on his friend, his best friend, who he considers his brother from his past. It's his new and his past colliding. He made a decision to stick with Bucky, no matter after all the things that Cap and Iron Man went through in the Avengers and the previous films before. His actions to take on Tony, you felt the weight. The music was beautiful. And just because it's CGI, there's a lot of CGI in some of the best action scenes. The Matrix, there's a lot of CGI.
It's not about use of CGI, it's about bad CGI.
But also, your argument about the weight of losing Nick Fury in your scene, Cap respected Nick Fury, but he never truly ever trusted him. He didn't have the respect and the love that Cap had in Tony in that point in Civil War. Then the lack... Like he even said in the beginning,
he abandoned Shield because he had that much trust and faith in Nick Fury. That's the whole propellant of the story.
He still had doubts, even if Nick Fury was telling the truth. Even like he was doubting.
Identical to the point of the story. You are lying.
No, I'm not. Okay, sorry.
Sorry, no. I want to focus on the actual fights because I haven't talked about it a whole lot. Because I think that, like, again, I think the magnetizing the hands thing is really cool. It's thoroughly thought through. The guys are coming in and they're hiding the magnets as like the handle for the briefcase. I think that's really like. I think that what makes the fight good is that the directors really sat there and said, how can we get everything out of it? Even to the last bit, again, how do you think the Cap will get out of it? He has to jump out of the fucking glass elevator. It has to be glass. It has to be see-through.
And it has to be CGI.
Yours is bad CGI. Mine is good CGI. That is the point. I think that like the actual action, what is going on, like, we focus a lot on the story. The actual fighting of mine is crisp and it is clear. Yours
it's
is
not
half
clear.
CGI,
it's sporadic.
flying around shit without really a lot of weight, and then it comes the actual like fisticuffs like going crazy at the top of the facility, and it's not strong.
The end of my fight scene when Cap threw the shield into Tony's chest was one of the most heartbreaking points in that scene, and it held so much weight. Sorry.
Wait. Striking from the record. We're going to start with Adelaide. Adelaide, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
if we're breaking down what makes a scene in a movie good, we're talking about investment in characters. We're talking about how was it shot well, how is the score, on top of adding like a really well choreographed fight scene. I think my scene has all of that. I think Henry Jackman's like kind of like frenetic electric score really like infiltrates you and makes you paranoid. The point of the whole film and the point of this scene specifically. The fighting is incredibly crisp and clear. You know every person involved in the scene and what they're doing to try and hold Cap back, or how Cap is trying to get out and escape from capture. The story as a propellant and the narrative behind the anxieties of the character, it all works. I think that his fight in Civil War, I do think it is like a coalescing of the story, but there isn't any weight to the violence between the characters. I think that yet the fight in the cloning facility is mostly bad CGI. Iron Man flying around, it doesn't feel very grounded. I think once we get to the top of it, there is the danger, the fear for these characters, and you know nothing's going to happen. Avengers Infinity War is right around the corner. What fucking fear do you have for the lives of these people?
Sorry. All right, let's go over to Richard. Richard, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
Everything that Adelaide saying my action scene has no weight. It is completely wrong. There's so much weight. There's so much impactful things that you realize at this moment what is happening. You see the anger of Tony Stark. You see the hesitation of Captain America of trying to fight Tony, trying to save his best friend Bucky from, obviously, Iron Man from killing him. He's not trying to bring him in. He's going to kill him. And the weight, there's not much weight in that elevator scene. It's a fun scene, but there's no weight. Hydra has yet to be revealed. Cap does not know that Hydra has infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. yet. He does not know that Bucky's the Winter Soldier yet. Even when he's hesitating, he's not truly trusting whether Nick Fury is actually telling the truth or not. He doesn't even think the people fighting him may be still evil. They're just, Robert Redford's character wanted to take him in because he doesn't believe Cap. And it's him trying to avoid. There's no weight in his scene. There's so much weight in mine because it's breaking up the Avengers. It is breaking up heroes. It is the first time that Cap is being a little selfish. There's so much weight.
Time. All right. I'm going to bring in the judges.
It's a good fight.
I will say I've been taking notes for the past few hours on the airport fight in Civil War because I'm a dumbass.
It's okay. It just evens up the World War II thing from there. Also, fun fact: the actor who played Fulton Reed is the real life brother of the guy who played Guy Germain in Mighty Ducks as well. I wanted to bring that up. We didn't have to.
A lot of Ellie Henson callbacks. I love it.
Yeah. All right. This was probably the one I liked the most tonight. I like these movies a lot, so that is probably why. Both good scenes, though. Actually, my pick was here, but my second pick would have been the Bucky versus Cap fight on the freeway in Winter Soldier. I think
that was my backup pick.
That is excellent. When that knife goes into the van and they scream, oh, so good. Anyway, I went with Richie. I thought that Richard kind of commanded this one. I'm not going to lie. I was surprised because I thought his opening was good, but I thought Spence's opening was really good. And then Richard started poking all the holes in it. We don't even know this is Hydra yet. We don't really know what's happening. It's a fun scene, but there's not really weight to it. Spence is like, there's no weight to your scene. Richard's like, I beg to fucking differ, and comes in and it says, I would have picked Richard's scene as well, frankly. I think that scene's incredible. And I thought that the way Richard fought it, of kind of posing this is Cap's brother Tony and Cap's brother Bucky, and having that all come to head was really good. Spence was kind of poking holes at the CGI and stuff like that. None of that totally worked for me. I thought that Richard just did a really good job of kind of being listen, the elevator scene is good. It's fun. But it has nothing on the story stakes, the emotional stakes, and also just the way that it's shot. And I liked how he added the way it ends with the shield going into the chest is just a really good way to end the scene. So I thought on the whole, Richard kind of commanded this one. Payson, you are a very big Captain America fan.
Yep.
I was just making sure.
No,
Okay, great. Okay, go ahead, Mason.
No, I think these were two really, really great scenes that were. I think this was the best argument of the night, and yeah, I also went with Richard. I think I did like Spence's argument of, hey, look, this is a scene that could be a throwaway scene, but I think the Roosters get a ton out of it. With just there's something fun about watching all these like fodder get together to fight Captain America and just see like, okay, we got to take him out. Let's see, and just do it all the magnetized. But I think Richard did a great job of setting up all the stakes and like what makes the finale of Civil War so special. Yeah, like Tim said, Spence tried to hit the tried to attack Richard by saying there are no stakes in your scene, and Richard was rightfully like me, like, what the fuck are you talking about? Spence tried to insult the CGI. I don't think the CGI is that bad, and Richard kind of just said, so I guess that's subjective. Yeah, I think there's just so much more stuff going on in Richard's scene. I think Richard pointed that out.
All right, Avi, your vote doesn't count. Where would you have gone away?
Man, just a bunch of clean sweeps today.
Number 4.
Your writing is incredible, my friend.
Yeah, I think Tim actually like kind of perfectly covered exactly what I want to say, so I'm not gonna go on for too long as I usually do. But I think Tim just kind of covered it, especially like I think Spence's opening was better until I kind of realized Spence was like, it's all about the action. It's all like in the actual argument, Spence's argument was it's all about the action and how cool it is and whatever. And like, but at the beginning, it was all about like, let me set the stage. This is what's happening, and this is how we got here in the elevator fight. And it just sort of like, well, that's not really pertinent if you're saying it's all about the action. So that was my big thing. So anyway, and also everything that Tim said, also that.
Oh, yeah. Good. Okay, I thought you were gonna. Okay, all right.
No.
That means we are tied. So here is what is going to happen. So going to a bonus round. We are going to. I'm going to say a category, and then I'm going to say the question. Once I have repeated the question, you may answer the question. Whoever says their answer first will be going first. You will each have 45 seconds, then followed by 30 seconds. Any questions?
Just so it's 40 seconds, 30 seconds for me, or is it both 40, both
45, 45, 30, 30.
Got it. I messed this up last time, so now I know it. Okay.
Okay. All right. So we're all set?
Mm-hmm. Good luck, Adelaide.
Yeah.
The category that was randomized was sci-fi fantasy. The question is, who is the coolest fantasy film hero? Again, who is the coolest fantasy film hero?
I'm going to take Ashitaka from Princess Mononoke.
Okay.
Pick Justin Long.
I would do Gandalf. He is a hero.
That absolutely counts. Gandalf. Okay. Gandalf. Gandalf Gray/White. What's that?
Do we want to do a clean take on that one, or just
no? I think this is fun. I think we leave it in and we let the audience wonder.
8 hours later.
So here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna take the judges out. I'm gonna say on screen, Adelaide spoke first. They're gonna be going first in this fight. Adelaide, you have 45 seconds to begin whenever you start talking.
I think Ashitaka is cool as fuck. I think that beyond the fact that he's like driven by the fact that he has like a cursed and fucked up arm, that also like kind of just makes his character animation like really cool. He stands out. He's iconic. He is interesting. I think his motivation is also incredibly cool. He is a fucking environmentalist radical. That shit's awesome. You're telling me that he's gonna work and team up with the gods to fuck over some like fascist dictator who's like monopolizing a local economy just to destroy the forest? I think that's rad. I think that's so fucking cool. I think also like the way that he approaches violence, the way that he has a perfectly accurate bow, the way that he slaughters demons and his enemies so seamlessly, I think perfectly fits the definition of cool that we need. Also, he rides a sick as fuck deer. Like, who else could do that? Oh, sick deer? That's impossible.
Time. Richard, 45 seconds for you whenever you start talking.
Man, Gandalf is the coolest wizard, man. He just hangs with the hobbits, smoking his pipe. He takes down the Balrog. He only is the great. He died and came back a badass. I haven't seen your movie, but the thing is, it's animated. You can be cool. It would be animated and do lots of fancy things. Gandalf is live action. He is kicking the orcs' butts. He is riding Shadowfast. He is taking down Balrog, and he is coming back from the dead. Has your character done that? No. Does he smoke weed with some hobbits? Hell yeah, it's a pipe, not weed. But in my head, he's smoking weed. He is the true badass, man. He's taking down orcs. He's taking down dumbass and knights who think they know better. He's an OG wizard.
It is called Long Bottom Leaf. Spence, 30 seconds.
I need like an OG wizard tattoo on Gandalf.
Whenever you're ready, Spence, go ahead.
I think when we think of Gandalf as cool, he has a lot of boring moments. Like, truly, a lot of people around him who meet him initially is like, oh yeah, that old guy. I think that just because like we know him as like, oh, this Balrog Slayer, he's not immediately cool. He is kind of like lame until he is called to battle. Otherwise, he is just like lounging around, smoking weed, literally not contributing to society at all. We only know of Ashitaka within this small part of the story where he is fighting for truly what he believes in, which is the betterment of others and the environment. And also, he's riding a sick as fuck deer.
Time. Richard, 30 seconds for you.
Gandalf was cool in the beginning of the movie, shooting off fireworks, punishing Pip and Merry, making them do dishes. That is hysterical. He's riding a deer. Gandalf rides eagles, he rides horses, he beats a Balrog. And yours is animated. I have not seen it, so I don't really know. I've not seen Princess Mononoke. But you can do a lot of cool things when it's animated. Gandalf is live action. He's kicking some major butts. Fly, you fools! You shall not pass! Cooler than yours.
Time. Oh, this was so good.
What are you laughing at, Tim? What are you laughing at?
Oh, so many. That was so good across the board. That was so much fun.
Ooh.
Oh,
That was fun. Good job, Adelaide. That was just so much fun.
Princess Mononoke, great movie, worth your time.
Yeah, it is.
I'm not a big Ghibli guy, Richard, but that one's pretty good. I gotta be honest. Oh my god. Oh my god.
I don't think we're getting a clean sweep on this one, boys.
I don't think we are. Fuck. Okay, hold on.
All right. Are you good, Payson?
Honestly, that was worth the wait, just so I was trying to struggle. Shame I only got a theater degree, not a musical theater.
Yeah, I gotta do it. No, actually, no, I don't have to fucking do it.
What is happening?
I love it.
We will begin with Javi.
I was really dreading having to go first on this one, but now I'm super glad I get to go first. So thank you to both of you for that. Spence came in at a huge disadvantage for me, just because I haven't seen Princess Mononoke, and like, unfortunately, especially in a speed rat, like you don't have a lot of time to convince me as to like this character or film that you've never seen is actually the best thing. And I think Spence came in at a really big disadvantage, and I've seen Lord of the Rings a lot of times, so Richard came in with a big advantage. I think Richard capitalized on it. I went with Richard. I think Spence pitched a bunch of cool things that a character would do. And I think Richard also just did. I think both of them were just like, look how cool this character is. Look at these cool things they do. And I'm like, all right, yeah, frick, all right. I don't know. It was frankly like basically a coin toss for me, but I got to respect Richard's. Listen, I haven't seen your movie, so I'm not going to say anything about it, but it is animated. I do know that. That is exactly what I would do, and that was correct, Richard. Good job. Yeah, I just think you can't beat Gandalf, Frank. The only one you could beat him with is Aragorn. Like that's the 1-2 sucker punch that you just have to go to for me in order to be like.
Dumbledore's pretty cool. Like, different
No,
gold
that
wizard.
guy sucks. He's such no.
What?
No,
All right.
Dumbledore sucks.
Okay. I went with Spence.
Told you.
It's gonna come down to Payson, but here's the deal. I obviously love Lord of the Rings, and I was having a great time listening to this. Also, a bad time listening to some of the stuff Spence was saying about Gandalf. These types of questions, it comes down sometimes to, who sounds the coolest? I got to take my perception of the movie out of it. Do I fucking love Gandalf? Yeah. Do I think him saying that pulling Wormtongue out of Theoden is like sucking poison from a wound is cool as fuck? Yeah, but you're not going to say that in an argument because that's just not how this works. So yeah, I think everything Gandalf does is cool. I heard about the Balrog. I loved Richard's point about the Eagles and Shadowfax and stuff. That was a great knock against the fucking deer. That was good. But Spence really did just like, they do this, they do this. This is cool. They take on the dictator. They take on this. Like all this stuff that I was like, yeah, that's pretty fucking cool. And even though I agree with Richard that like Gandalf is cool as fuck and he smokes pot with the hobbits and does shit, I feel like he brought up the Balrog, which is a huge thing, but he left a lot on the table as far as Gandalf goes. So I went with Spence. Payson, this comes down to you.
First off, Yakul, Ashitaka's noble steed.
I had to look him up. My boy Yakul.
It's an elk, not a deer, you plebs.
What's
But
the fucking difference? I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
I dropped out of college. I don't know shit.
There were a lot of things said in this round. I loved when Spence said, Ashitaka's got a cool elk. And Richard was like, motherfucker, Gandalf's riding on an eagle and a horse and everything. And Spence says, well, Gandalf does a lot of like boring stuff in Lord of the Rings. Like, it's like, yeah, I guess he probably does do his taxes and everything. The thing that this came down to, I did not hear a single knock against Ashitaka minus he is animated, which I think is not a good attack. So with that, I went with Spence.
And your winner is Adelaide Spence. This was a crazy one. Yeah, I think this was Richard's best match in a long time. Like I've said, I've always been a Richard fan. I think he always shows up and plays well. But 2 clean sweeps, a split on the final. I thought Richard played really well in this one, but Spence continues to impress. So I really liked what Spence did here, and I think they are in for a good season. I think Richard is too. I think this is Richard's comeback season. I'm looking forward to it. And I just thought this was a great way to kick off officially the rest of the season after our big event last week. So thank you to Payson and to Javi for judging this one with me. Thanks to Richard and Spence. This was a great one. We'll see you guys next time with more Fanzone debate. Until then, bye.
Hands, touching hands, reaching out, touching me, touching you, sweet Caroline.